All right, what's going on, yo? So welcome to another episode of Full Circle Podcast. It is your favorite brother, Joseph, as always. I want to talk to y'all today a little bit about something that's been on my mind. And I know I talked about this last week to some degree about taking time to stop and really just be with yourself and, observing how sometimes slowing is growing, right? Like how sometimes you can take time and realize that by slowing down and observing what's going wrong in your life or what might need some adjusting, you can actually move forward and grow. Today, I want to talk to y'all a little bit about fresh starts. And I'm going to dive into a little bit of what that looks like in just a second here. But before I do, if you're watching this, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, like and share this video if you're watching on YouTube with a friend. If you saw maybe a clip of something from this on Instagram or TikTok, go ahead and follow us at _Full Circle Pod on Instagram and at Full Circle Pod on TikTok. As I always say, famously, it is free to support a nigga unless you want to do more. And we appreciate whenever you do. Okay, so what is the definition of a fresh start? I know a lot of people, when they feel overwhelmed or they feel like they've done way too much, or maybe you were dating in a friend group, or you got a bad reputation. Maybe you were exposed on the T app. I don't know what it is. I don't know if y'all heard the story about the T app and how guys made a version of that for themselves, right? Maybe you're one of those people that got exposed in the dating group here in LA or somewhere else, or maybe you just had a breakup and you need a fresh start, right? A lot of people will get a haircut. They'll get a tattoo. They'll, be like, I'm going to go to the gym, right? I'm going to completely change my life and become the person that he can never have or whatever. I've just seen a lot of these posts on social media, and I find it laughable because of the fact that I think that many times when we're craving a fresh start, we think that it means erasing the past that we've experienced. But I really want to tell you that craving a fresh start and experiencing a fresh start, what if we looked at it as not erasing the past, right? But beginning again, reflecting on all those things that came before and doing so with intention. And so, first of all, let me just start with what a fresh start is not. A fresh start is not about denial. It is not about pretending nothing happened in your life. It is not about gaslighting the people that you've hurt. It is not about trying to, change or reframe or control the narrative. It is about choosing what you carry forward and what you leave behind, and looking at your scars as instructional material and teaching tools rather than something to just continue to cry on about or tie up and ignore and act like it didn't happen. So I just want to ask you, when is the last time that you truly hit the reset button on something in your life? I think of it like this, right? And we talked about this a little bit on the New Year's episode this year, where we talked about New Year's resolutions versus revelations. If you want to know more about that and kind of watch the information that I talked about on that, I'll go ahead and put that right here in this video. But it's so interesting to me how we are so attracted to the idea of a clean slate, whether it's New Year's resolutions, birthdays, moving to another city, starting a new relationship, getting into a new hobby, career path, whatever it is, a new job for that matter. And sometimes we think that those new things are actually going to make us new. But truly what it is, it's almost like having that new phone or that new device or that new car. We think that those new cars are actually doing something for us. That new device is doing something for us because of the novelty of it. It feels fresh. It feels new. It feels exciting. And this is called the fresh start effect, which in behavioral science, it's a temporal landmark that boosts our motivation. It boosts our excitement. Of course, it boosts our enthusiasm for that thing, right? But what ends up happening when that fresh thing wears off and we're left with the rubble of what exists in our life? We're left with those old memories that start to sink in and creep in about who we are or about what someone said we were. Or what if we run to a new city or a new relationship or new friendships, but yet the common denominator in the new situations that we're in are the same traits, behaviors, and experiences that either people have said about us or that we previously found ourselves in. What about these things can tell us that a fresh start is not just moving into new situations, but by examining and observing past ones and then making new decisions that enhance the new spaces that we enter into? And so I want to talk to you about that today. I believe that the main reason why we want a fresh start is, in many ways, I think human beings were wired for redemption. We're wired for growth, and we're wired for a space to evolve and show change or express change out of a place of that evolution. And so I believe that if you watch movies, if you see this in books, music, whatever, many people are looking at reinvention or change. And this is a recurring theme in our society, right? We always look at the person who's the underdog, right? Or the person that we may not like them so much, but we do like stories about people that made changes. And this is why I think in so many ways, cancel culture is so anti our human development, right? I think it's absolutely antithetical to our reality and our existence as human beings, because who I am is not the same as who I was 10 years ago. Now, of course, you could say, hey, I believe we should hold people accountable for when they do the wrong thing or when they, say the wrong thing. And I think a lot of the reason why cancel culture has become so strong in the country and in our society and in the world is because in many ways there was no accountability before, when people were being taken advantage of, assaulted, so on and so forth. But I do believe today that this new version where we're holding people completely and, unequivocally accountable to the mistakes that they've made in the past, I believe in many ways that is not that's not a catalyst for growth in our lives. And so I believe that right now more than ever, we live in a culture that is craving redemption, that is craving change, that is craving the permission almost to grow and develop as people. But the thing about it is that to really understand what that looks like, we all have to recognize that each and every one of us has faults. Each and every one of us has failures. Each and every one of us has made mistakes and will continue to make mistakes. And forgiveness for every human being should not be based on some cultural status quo or our affection for or against a particular individual. Forgiveness and redemption should all be on the basis of people who acknowledge their wrongs and are making a concerted effort to do the right thing, or people that are seeking a fresh start, not only in words, but in actions. And so here's a couple of myths that I want to break down. I wrote down some of these here about, changes, myths and pitfalls here. Number one, you have to burn everything down, right? Some people are rushing right now to delete their old tweets or to erase their old, Facebook posts from back in the day, or to delete some TikTok video, or to go back and clean the internet of any sort of thing that they said or did. But for some people, it's a little bit different. Maybe you are trying everything in your life to say, well, look, I'm going to burn down every single thing that shows I've had pain or shows that I've had problems or scars. And that's actually, the shame of that is actually the very thing that cannot contribute towards somebody else out there being able to relate to the problems that you might have in your life or the mistakes that you've made. Because for every person out there that we think is doing good or has a good heart or did the right thing, there is always a skeleton in our closet. None of us are perfect. And we're going to drum up or develop some new way or some new thing to come at somebody about that was not or is not part of the societal punishment list, right? Or that's not part of what is socially acceptable. We're going to find something, right? But how do you own the mistakes that you've made while saying, I'm choosing to renovate the house? I'm choosing, if we're going to rebuild everything without having anything to look back on and say it could be renovated, what does that say about our entire lives? And I think that that's probably one of the most common mistakes or common myths is that people believe they have to destroy everything to build something new because they don't want to leave behind any sign of damage or destruction. Secondarily here, myth number 2, a fresh start fixes everything automatically. Believe it or not, this instant culture that pushes on to us, you can do this in 30 days and 60 days and 90 days. All of us are dealing with different types of traumas. All of us are struggling with different types of pain. All of us may have not been aware of some of the problems. We may be knowing we're doing the wrong thing, but we're not really sure how to fix it. And that perpetrates the problem continuing. So you don't need a fresh start to fix everything automatically. Sometimes the greatest amount of healing that takes place in your world comes from the slow, painful, arduous, but complete, real, revolutionary change that occurs in your life. Number 3, you need to wait for the right moment. I see this constantly all the time. People that talk about relationships or, getting your money right or whatever. They say, oh, well, you need to have everything all together. You need to have, you need to be in the gym this amount of time. You need to be, this healed to meet your girlfriend or your boyfriend. You need to have everything lined up and together. And then they're usually selling a course to go along with it. Can I submit to you today that sometimes there are things that you can't fix because there's this loner mentality that we have that if I just go by myself and if I just figure it out by myself and if I'm single long enough or if I build the brand or if I watch this particular course, it's a magic fix for my life. But can I submit to you that sometimes entering into that situation with that person, and I'm not saying we should use people to heal ourselves, let me be clear, but sometimes there are things in relationships that you explore about your need for healing that being single and just having your friends validate you or just experiencing time with them will not do. And we need other people in our lives to see that. Repeating old patterns because you did not address the root issue becomes part of this. Because you up and go from one situation to the next, you disappear, you replace one guy or girl with another guy or a girl and think that's going to solve the problem because you think they're the problem. And actually, the newness in your life actually becomes nudity because it exposes the nakedness of the problem, which is something occurring within you. But you think it's them. You think it's somebody else. What happens when newness becomes nudity? Because it exposes the reality of who you are. And what you thought would hide the pain and what you thought would hide the brokenness actually exposes and exacerbates it because you refuse to confront the very thing that would create a champion within you. But here's the other extreme. Maybe you're overcorrecting everything. Maybe this need that we're taught in our culture, we have to change. We have to make all these shifts. You have to do this or no one's going to like you. And if you're not more confident, then she won't want to get your number. Or if you don't have all these things lined up, or if you avoid having icks and doing all this stuff and becoming the person that he wants or becoming the man that she wants. Stop. You're driving yourself crazy because you're overcorrecting every tiny little minute thing about you and you're losing your identity trying to become a person that they will be pleased with. What happens if they leave? What happens if after all of that chasing of approval and stretching yourself thin for somebody else's liking, what happens if you gain everything you want and lose yourself? What does that profit you? I think it's about time that we came back to who we are and realized that it is possible for you to experience a new start and at the same time continue to be who you are and showcase the failures and the mistakes, but also the triumphs and the victories. Here's a couple of competent, realistic, practical ways you can do that. Reflect. Don't just run. There's always going to be that alarm of pain in your head telling you when something's wrong. And as human beings, we're definitely more prone to hear the negative than the positive about ourselves. So I'm encouraging you, don't drown and swim in the darkness and the pain and the brokenness that your brain keeps having on a broken record telling you about what's wrong with you. But reflect and look at what's not working in your life. Look at common things. Your parents keep saying this is an issue you have, your friends, strangers. It might be painful to hear, but sit with it. You're not broken because somebody else has an issue out there, but something might be broken within you. Number one. Number two, decide what is to keep. Who you are is not broken. There's just things in your life that may have been busted or cracked. There goes my Siri talking to me. There may be things that are busted in your life, but you are not broken. And it's important to remember that not all of your past is baggage, okay? There are things that you thought that did not serve you in this past season of your life that you are going to look back, and instead of getting rid of it and throwing to the side, you're going to realize that that story reframed is actually part of the champion that you are and will become. So take a look at some things that can aid you along the journey. Set micro goals for yourself. Build momentum instead of giant, fragile leaps that lead to more frustration and hurt and you feeling like you can't get it done. Acknowledge the positive changes that are happening along the way and celebrate them. Number 4, shift your environment. You need to listen and pay attention to the people that you're around, the spaces that you're involving yourself in, and the things that you're listening to, that you're taking in about who you are, the things you choose to believe. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of people trying to sell you this 10-step course that'll help you in 60 days or 30 days, or this AI thing that will dramatically change your life. And I'm not against that. But you want those tools to be a gift and not a grift. So know yourself and know what you need before you let somebody else tell you what's good for you. And then finally, build accountability. Tell somebody about what's going on in your life that you trust and be honest about where you're falling short. But most importantly, celebrate yourself for the beautiful things that there are about you. There is so much that we do in this world to tear ourselves down. The world's already tearing us down out there. There's already enough people telling us what we're doing wrong, about what we are that's wrong, about who we are that's wrong, that this behavior gives them the ick, and this tiny part about us is not acceptable, and this is a little too much, and this is a little too strange, and this is a little too dramatic, or this is a little too quiet, or this is a little too bold, or this is a little, you talk too much, stop. If you yield to what they say and you listen to what they say, someone's going to like you at the end of the day and someone's not. It's okay to reflect on what's not working and make adjustments. But don't let an adjustment become the alteration of the gift that you are meant to be to this world. Because at the end of the day, who you are is powerful. And even though you may have made mistakes and you're in desperate need of a change, that scar in your life can tell a story to somebody who has yet to experience that pain or who is in the thick of healing right now. Who you are is enough. Your personality, your loud laugh, your quietness, your shy presence, your careful examination, your analytical mind, your carefree attitude, your boldness, your ability to go strike it up with any single person, or your intentionality in a 2-on-2 conversation, your life of the party attitude, or your fly on the wall nature. It's a gift. And what you think might need a fresh start might just need a careful reframing. So what are you looking for in a fresh start in your life? And how do you plan to pursue that? Let me know. Go ahead and shoot me a DM at _FullCirclePod on Instagram and at FullCirclePod on TikTok, as well as smashing that subscribe button, leaving a like, and commenting right here on the channel to get more information and stay plugged in with what we're doing here. That is all the time that I have for today. I want to thank you for tuning in. And as I always love to say, have a great one from your favorite brother. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.